Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. The important news and editorial that would be relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 11th of July. The first important news is about the Global South, its origin and significance. This is from the text and context page of the Hindu. I'll be following two text and context page. The other is France Right and Protest. These two are the global issues relevant for your general studies paper 2. Now the third news, that is India aims to end the urea import by 2025. This is what the government of India has envisioned for, and the efforts are made by the central government to ensure that the import of urea is reduced by 25. Second last, that is cancellation of Vedanta Foxconn cheap deal. Recently, we have come across the news that the deal has continued between these two giants. Now, Foxconn is the world's largest manufacturers when it comes to the chips. Finally, there is a cancellation. There is no reason cited by the Foxconn. We'll see and understand what are the possible reason why the deal was cancelled. And the last is an editorial, don't waste the wastewater, right? So this is a deep down approach where the things will be understood to you how the wastewater can help in the part of sustainability and even to have a diagnostics for the healthcare. So this is from the editorial from the Hindu. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further ado, let's get started. And if you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do hit that like button. Starting the session, the first news, that is the Global South, the origin and significance. This particular news is relevant for General Studies Paper 2 in the mains, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. To give you the broader picture and perspective why we are discussing this news, see, recently there have been term which is mostly frequent in the news, that is about the Global South. So what does this term generally mean? The Global South refers to countries that are less developed in terms of their economical prosperity and even have a lower level of industrializations compared to the part of the developed world that is called as a global north, right? I'll make you understand this is not something that has to where the part of geophysical अगर locations की बात करें उस context में नहीं है, but development के context में बात की गई है global south की. So these countries are actually characterized by the high poverty rate. I'll tell you which are the countries. So characterized by the high poverty rate, limited access to education, healthcare, and underdevelopment infrastructure. So this is how the definitions goes for the part of the Global South. And if you look at the countries which is mostly counted in the Global South, these countries include Africa. This is the one country. After that, we have Asia, Latin America, and Caribbean countries. So the term Global South denote the part of mixtures of political, geopolitical, and economic commonwealths between the nations. Now, just to give you the background, when this concept has actually emerged, जो हम global south की बात करते हैं, क्या ये कोई नई concept है या फिर already ये existing में रही है? So you can get track back to the concept where it was given in 1969. This is not a new. So this was first appeared in 1969 by a political activist whose name was Carl Oglesby, right? And he was the one. Basically, after that, what has happened? The things has evolved. In 1991, there was a breakup from the Soviet Union, which marked the end of the so-called Second World War, and the term was gaining the momentum, right? So this is how the background is when it comes to the Global South. Now then, common terms were developed on the part of the nations, and even third world, fourth world order is that is continuing. Now, the fall of the Soviet Union and the end of the Second World War gave the convenience pretext of the Third World, which has disappeared to now. The Global South in present context is evidential, it is evident, and even for the examination perspective, Global South is going to be important. Now, this is not a geopolitical, this is actually a geopolitical concept and not the geographical concept. If you see the term Global South, it is not a geographical. Why I'm telling this? Because if you see the part of the countries that is there in the global south, the two countries, that is China and India, that lie entirely in the northern hemisphere. So if it lies in the northern hemisphere, that we call it global south. This has nothing to do with the part of the geographical. I'll show you a map. This will give you a clear picture. You can see the India country lying here. The world map, most of you must be aware, this is China. So these two are the country where they are in the, under the global north, right? But the concept which has emerged in the global south calls for other variant of the geopolitics. So rather, the uses denotes a mix of political, geopolitical, and economic commonalities between the nations. And even the countries of the global south were mostly that received the imperialism, the colonial rule. The African countries, perhaps the most visible example of this. This is the reason we counted under the global south. Now, बात करें डिफरेंट वेरिएंट या आउटलुक की, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द डिपेंडेंसी थ्योरिस्ट, कुछ अलग अलग बातें कही गई हैं. एंड इवन द सेंटर पेरिफेरी इज दैट द वर्ल्ड पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमी, सिंपली पुट इन टर्म्स, has a relations between the west and the east, and the trading and even for the part of geopolitical that has continued has for been a long term. Now, the growth forecast for the global south, how does the thing work and how it has evolved? So by 2030 it's projected that 3 of the 4th largest economy will be from the global south, and these countries can be China, India, United States, and Indonesia. See, I mean, India is again a potential country, will be soon reaching out to the 5 trillion economy, and current 4th largest economy के तौर पे इंडिया ने काफ़ी हद तक चीज़ों को अचीव किया. वे ऑलमोस्ट इनिशियल द 3rd largest economy globally. तो काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ों में अचीवमेंट है. So we'll soon be achieving on that part also, right? And in terms of GDP and the purchasing power, the global south dominate the BRICS nation. The countries in the BRICS include Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, that pass the global north G7 club. Now there are now more billionaires in Beijing than the New York City. Now, moving to other news, that is France riots and protests. There has been riot ongoing in the France, and this is basically with regards to the races that has continued. And again, a debate of racial issue, ethnic issues has continued, right? So something important for general studies paper too, that is the effect of policies and politics for developed and developing countries. So recently what has happened that a 17-year-old unarmed French citizen of Algeria and Morocco were like they were shot out by the police, and this has created a lot more tussle between the citizen, considering the fact that this incident took place in the suburb area of Paris, right? Now, initially, the police has justified the shooting, and they cited that because of the security reasons and even because of the protocols that were followed, the incident took place. But a video which got viral in the social media like Twitter, it pointed out that the car was stopped, and before any intimations, before any warning, the shot was there, right? So this has created a chaos, and even the part of ethnicity is related to this. So France has witnessed a violence across the country, despite the authorities detaining the police officers on charge of voluntary homicides. Now, what is the nature of violence? If you see, violence was primarily attributed to the young individual, including minors, migrant, blacks, and Arab communities. Over the 5 consecutive nights, France witnessed a widespread riot resulting in 3,000 arrests nationwide. So after this incident, the protester has continued, and the response was there that the riot took place, mayors were affected, and even some areas where the looting, destruction, infrastructure towns were also part of it. Now, what has fueled the violence? As I have told you at the beginning, that the way the government has treated is something that was in question. And after that, the other problem that is being said, I mean, that is basically witnessed in the France is the part of the economic indicators. First is also witnessing low unemployment rate, increased foreign investment, right? And France remain deeply divided. तो उस चीज को भी लेकर के ये इंसिडेंट ने फ्यूल किया है. And the extent of the racial polarization in the France has continued. And the recent studies have highlighted that the disproportionate target of an individual, whether perceived to be black or Arab by the police during the identity check, is also something that has caused problem. Now, these unrest have frequently originated from the societal challenges such as unemployment, discriminations, and even minority communities, which was frequently with the law enforcement agencies. तो इस तरह के problems कुछ specific ethnic group के साथ ही देखेंगे. Now, measures that was taken by the authorities, वहाँ की authorities ने क्या क्या measures लिए, how to control it. So the Interior Minister, which is like the part of MHA, which is there in India, Ministry of Home Affairs, they have actually deployed 40,000 law enforcement officers, which is a police officer obviously, and protesters या फिर officers के बाहर लगाई गए ताकि चीज़ों को control की जा सके. And even the young minds of the writers, President has called on parents to take responsibility to keep their children indoors and suggested that imposing restrictions on social media users, this is something which is a global practice, not only in India, आप globally कहीं भी देखेंगे जिस तरह से rights होती है उसके बाद social media को block करना and even internet disruptions is something that is there by the enforcement agencies, by the law enforcement agencies. Now, moving ahead, India aims to end urea import from 2025. So this is something relevant for Gender Studies paper 2. That is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementations. So according to the Union Minister for Chemical and Fertilizer, Ministry ने बताया है that India will not need the import of urea. अगर urea import की बात करें domestic productions के लिए, we will end this by 2025. But again, because the concept of nano urea, I'll give you the detailed part of that. Nano urea को implement की गई है इंडिया में, and even government of India is looking forward कि जहाँ पे जो यूरिया की import है उसे पूरी तरह से कम की जा सके by 2025. This is what the target has been set by the government of India. Now, the Union Minister for Chemical and Fertilizer has said that special package government ने announce किया, and the estimated value is 3.7 lakh crore rupees for farmer that has been brought it for the use that to become unbalanced in the country, right? तो जिस तरह से disproportionate use भी की जा रही है उसे भी control करने की कोशिश की जाएगी. If you see the part of fertilizers, specifically that is used, उसमें 3 important composition होते हैं, that is nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. और जो ratio use की जाती है, that is the ideal ratio is 4:2:1. But in India, as of now, we are using 8:3:1, which is again dangerous because nitrogen की amount काफी ज़्यादा soil में बढ़ रही है, which is creating a problem. Now, concern due to excessive use of fertilizer, as I've told you, soil is getting damaged और fertility soil की longer run के लिए भी काफी ज़्यादा खराब हो रही है. This is not a sustainable practice. So, if you're writing in mains paper specifically, तो आप ये चीज़ों को highlight कर सकते हैं. Soil health, the part of the human health, animal health, environment health, everything is being impacted. This is interconnected, right? And study has, however, found that this resulted in a 16% decrease in the productions, and Punjab has despite 10% increase in the uses of fertilizers during the same period. So, हमें fertilizer की जो utilizations है, जो uses हैं, उसे कम करनी है. This has led to the deterioration of soil health over the period because of high uses of the fertilizers and in the ratio that is again which is not environmentally sustainable. Now, government के कुछ initiatives की बात करें, government of India ने basically 25 grades जो P&K के लिए release की हैं, and even for the part fertilizers manufacturing के लिए government की कोशिश है कि ऐसी composition बनाया जाए which is sustainable. So the subsidy of urea alone is seen that इस fiscal year में 70,000 crore rupees के लिए government ने allocate किया है. And apart from that, government has also come up with a nutrient-based subsidy. What is this? This scheme is being implemented since April, जहाँ पे fixed rate of subsidy दी जाती है as per the nutrient, and this is announced that the nutrients, namely nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, potash or sulfur by the government on the annual basis. So this is how the nutrient-based subsidy actually work. और subsidy rates की अगर बात करें NPS के हिसाब से, so this is on the tonnage, and even that is under the NPS, that is nutrient-based subsidy. Now, moving to the other news, cancellations of Vedanta Foxconn chip deal, something important for Gender Studies paper 3. So this will be relevant for Gender Studies paper 3, not paper 2. So, Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. Now, if you see the world largest technology manufacturer or service provider, Taiwan की एक बहुत बड़ी company that is named as Foxconn. So this basically manufacture the chips, many sort of items for the IT companies, and they have withdrawn their 19.5 billion ventures, which was there with Indian conglomerate Vedanta. It's a big giant group which is operating in India. So the deal has been cancelled. There's no reason cited by them. So in 2022, the center has held that the Vedanta and Foxconn semiconductor manufacturing plant will be set up in Gujarat, right? So less than a year, the partnership between the two companies is said to be apart और abruptly इसे होल्ड कर दी गई है, which will be having, see, if you semiconductors की अगर बात करें, इंडिया को ज़रूरत है इस चीज़ की, और इस तरह के होल्ड से डेफिनेटली एक माइन्यूट इम्पैक्ट होगी, बट गवर्नमेंट इज हैविंग अ नेगोशिएशन विद फॉक्सकॉन कि वो इंडिपेंडेंटली भी अपने प्लांट को यहाँ पे लगा पाए. Now, why has Foxconn pulled out the partnership? You see, there's no reason cited. That is what I have told you initially. But it is understood कि वेदांता की बात करें, उनके heavy debts हैं, loads हैं. That is the reason if the company is acquiring, they will have a problem. Chip making में भी एक problem आ सकती है. The write-offs need to be done by the entities. वो share होंगी which the company do not want, right? And joint venture is not going well at the present. And there is something differences that has become Foxconn to pull out from the deal, right? And even the government is in touch with the Foxconn is encouraging to set up the fab independently. तो गवर्नमेंट ने कहा है कि जो चीज़ें हैं उसे Foxconn चाहे तो इंडिया में इंडिपेंडेंटली स्टैब्लिश कर सकती है, बट पार्टनरशिप फॉर द सोलर manufacturing and the chip manufacturing is essential because India is looking forward for Make in India initiative, and even in terms of self-reliance, government of India has been putting its best impetus. और अगर इंडिया की बात करें, I always reminded you about the PLI scheme, that is Potential Link Incentive Scheme. This is also there for the semiconductors. तो semiconductors में गवर्नमेंट ने काफ़ी हद तक इन्वेस्टमेंट की है, so they will definitely rely on the fact कि इस तरह की कंपनीज आए, इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट करें, और जो मेक इन इंडिया मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कि जो हब है वो बेसिकली द टाइमिंग दैट इज सेट बाय 2025 शुड बी अचीव. So this is how the context you need to understand if it is being asked in the mains examination. You need to correlate the India's target, government of India की जो target है उसके साथ, and even to maximize the potential कि किस तरह से जो semiconductors है वो chip manufacturing है इंडिया के लिए काफ़ी ज़्यादा potentially help कर सकती है to grow the economy. Now, what about the other proposal? If you see the proposal which is there, बहुत सारी और companies हैं जो operate कर रही है apart from the Vedanta's Foxconn, ISMC which is backed by Abu Dhabi based company Next Orbit, और Israel की Tower Semiconductors companies है that is also looking for the proposal. The merger were announced, and even the Singapore based IGSS venture that is also operating on this part, where the advisory committee has come up with the where they have learned that definitely the proposal will work out. Now, why is chip making crucial for India? As I have told you about the part why it is important, priority already है economic development को ध्यान में रखते हुए, and even government के vision supply chain को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए domestic manufacturing and even China के साथ import कम करने के लिए काफ़ी ज़्यादा important है. US के example के तौर पर देखिए, US Chips Act which was passed in August has provided for 280 billion subsidies on manufacturing, and it has imposed additional restriction on the part of sanctions that was there impacting China and other industries. So India definitely wanted to be self-reliant, cutting down on the dependency of China. Now moving to the editorial of the day, that is do not waste the water, something important for general studies paper 2, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest, and it is also important for the government policies and intervention जहाँ पे आप समझ पाएंगे कि किस तरह से वेस्ट वाटर की भी यूजेस एक काफ़ी important aspects. Now, what I'll be discussing under this editorial, that is the wastewater surveillance, that is the study conducted by Lancet, wastewater surveillance, government measures, and the way forward, right? And this particular article is also important, where in general studies paper 2, health related to issues की topic mention है syllabus में, वहाँ पे भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा relevant. Now, the wastewater surveillance is also known as the water-based epidemiology or the sewage epidemiology, which is a technique used to monitor and analyze the wastewater, जहाँ से एक important insights मिल सकती है health और well-being के बारे में एक individual sample of population के. How does this work? You collect the water from a given population or given area or given locality, और उस water को sample करके जो waste water से पता ये चलाया जा सकता है that what are the part of the conditions, the virus, bacteria, other things that is there in that locality, right? So this involves sampling and analyzing the wastewater for various chemicals, biological markers such as virus, bacteria, pharmaceutical, illicit drugs, and environmental containments, right? So this is how the part of the water surveillance actually work, and this is the concept behind the water waste surveillance. Now कुछ स्टडी की गई है बाय लैंसेट. लैंसेट इज एन इम्पॉर्टेंट जर्नल, वर्ल्ड रेप्यूटेड जर्नल व्हेन इट कम्स टू हेल्थ केयर. उन्होंने रिसेंटली अपने कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट फाइंडिंग पब्लिश की है एंड दे हैव रेटरेटेड दैट यूजिंग वेस्ट वाटर फॉर पब्लिक हेल्थ सर्वेलेंस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. नाउ स्ट्रैटेजिकली अगर बात करें, 80-year old दिस इज अ टेक्निक विच इज नॉट न्यू, ऑल्दो कम्युनिटीज में पहले पोलियो के टाइम भी इसे यूज की गई थी एंड इवन ड्यूरिंग द कोविड-19 इट वाज आर्ग्यूड बाय यूएस. अगर बात करें एफडीए की, उन्होंने भी रिकमेंड किया था दैट ये एक ऐसी मेजर्स है जो ली जा सकती है. कुछ सैंपल्स के वेस्ट वाटर कलेक्ट करके ये पता चला जा सकता है दैट वेदर द कोरोना वायरस इज एक्चुअली रिसाइडिंग ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर लोकेशंस और नॉट, वहाँ के लोग कितने इन्फेक्शन है. इस तरह की चीजें वेस्ट वाटर से बहुत हद तक पता लगाया जा सकता है. सो दिस इज हाउ द पार्ट इज थिंग, आई मीन इफ इट इज बीइंग कैलकुलेटेड एंड टेकन इनटू कंसिडरेशन विल डेफिनेटली हेल्प टू द मासेस एज वेल. वेस्ट वाटर सर्वेलेंस की अगर बात करें, इट इज नोन टू हैव अ न्यू हेल्थ थ्रेट ऑफरिंग द बेनिफिट्स. और इस तरह के एफर्ट्स से काफी हद तक यू कम टू नो अबाउट द डिजीजेस, अबाउट डिफरेंट थिंग, अबाउट द लोकेलिटी, अबाउट द पीपल हेल्थ. पब्लिक हेल्थ के कंटेक्स्ट में ये सारी चीजें काफी जरूरी है. Wastewater surveillance in India could be involved with the systemic sampling and the part of varied resources such as wastewater ponds in rural areas, centralized sewage system in urban localities. So these are the two parts, because see in the rural area people mostly use ponds. So ponds can be the one simple collectors, and जो urban areas है वहाँ पे basically जो sewage system है that can give you the the possible idea can be there from this as well, right? So undergone testing designated laboratories. इस तरह से जो genetic fragments हैं वायरस और बैक्टीरियाज की एक identifications हो सकती है, and even we can get a sample and we can make understand. This will help the policy makers to get things done in the right time, in the right directions. Incorporating the part of water surveillance is not fixed at this time, but it could be reducing the reliance or any other cost of the data, right? So wastewater surveillance, even if you're using in general studies paper 4, अगर ethics की बात करें, case studies में भी इस तरह के hypothetical examples आप use कर सकते हैं. Assuming that you are a district collector or a health officers, तो आप किस तरह से एक sample collections में कोई epidemic हुई है या फिर pandemic हुई है, how you can help now. So these measure can be utilized. तो इसे आप एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे 4 पॉइंट्स में मेंस में जरूर यूज करें. Now the government measures, basically government has come up with आयुष्मान भारत डिजिटल मिशन which aims to create a seamless platform जहाँ पे health services के लिए एक opportunity provide की जा रही, where integrating the wastewater surveillance is taken into considerations, and this would allow real time tracking of the disease and even for more effective targeting the public health response. ये encourage करेगी public health surveillance के लिए and mobilizing the part of resource accordingly. Now, integration of wastewater surveillance is fully aligned with the Niti Aayog current vision. Other innovations form is disease surveillance, including social media surveillance and occupational health services. Now, to conclude the part and even with the way forward, you can write it down that the India's leadership in terms of G20. As you know that India is the current chair for G20 और ये G20 की membership इंडिया के पास नवंबर 2023 तक के लिए. तो ये एक important forum है जहाँ पे इंडिया इस तरह के इंपॉर्टेंट इश्यूज को एलिवेट कर सकता है और नए इनोवेटिव अप्रोचेस के लिए बात कर सकता है विद ऑल द मेंबर कंट्रीज, राइट. सो इंडिया विल डेफिनेटली रिक्वायर टू हैव अ ग्लोबल अटेंशन ऑन द हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी. वी हैव रिसेंटली कम आउट फ्रॉम द पेंडेमिक, राइट. वी नीड टू लर्न अ लेसन. और पेंडेमिक बेसिकली in a decade we have seen, for the past century we have seen that pandemic, but we need to learn a lesson from the pandemic, and for the global order we need to understand the fact that this should not be continued, right. तो उसके लिए एक important lessons लेते हुए ये forum को use की जा सकती है. Anyway, for international commitment which is there, the position can itself act as a coordinator, and we dedicatedly need a public health management that should be driving the implementation, and India can be the गेम चेंजर, बिकॉज द करंट शेयर विच इंडिया इज होल्डिंग, हेल्थ में काफी ज्यादा डिस्कशन हुई है, मीटिंग्स हुई है. सो दिस कैन डेफिनेटली हेल्प इन अ लॉन्गर रन, नॉट ओनली फॉर इंडिया बट ऑल अदर मेंबर कंट्रीज एज वेल एंड फॉर द ग्लोबल वर्ल्ड. Now, moving ahead with the MCQ questions of the day, before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is C. For second question, the correct option is A. Today's MCQ for practice is about interstate transmission system regulations. को बताना है कौन से स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है. इट सपोज टू रीएस्टैब्लिश द एग्जिस्टिंग इंटरस्टेट कनेक्टिविटी ओपन एक्सेस. इट सीक्स टू डू अवे फ्रॉम द प्री डिटरमिन्ड पॉइंट टू पॉइंट transmission actions. So do check out for the correct option. The second question is about the Eklavya Model Residential School. It was established by the Union Ministry of education. It was started in the year 1977-1978 to provide the education for scheduled tribe people. So do check out for the correct option. Practicing a lot more current affair question will give you an added advantages in the upcoming examination. We have a lot other platforms where the question are published. So do check it out. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any queries about admissions, test series, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.